I know it's been a little bit as I've been on break, but I'm glad to be back. So with that, let's kick it off, shall we? A big welcome to everyone for the very first session of Build with Ben 2022. And so, yeah, we're here on live again, Twitch. This is on Tuesdays. We'll be Build with Ben. And so I'll make sure that the schedule is updated. So if you go to benkozen.io/schedule, that you can always find the latest updates as far as like either things I'm speaking at or all the live stream stuff. So be sure to check it out. All right. Okay, so what do we got on today? Well, so today we are going to dive into a library that I've been meaning to sort of play around more with. I've dabbled a little bit with it, but it's a library called VueUse. And so it's basically built by basically a fellow team member on the Vue and Vite team called, his name is Anthony Fu, if you haven't heard of him, AntFu7 on Twitter. Remarkable open source contributor and just has incredible ideas, and there's a bunch of things he's done. But today we're going to talk about VueUse, which is a library that I'm just itching to dive into. So with that said, let's jump right in. So I'm going to switch over. Here we go. Live stream. Okay. So we're playing with a slightly different layout now. So I used to have like sort of like the screen, sort of the video off on one side and then the sort of screen on the other. But I figure if we're talking about screen resolution being the most important, I'm going to eliminate some of the noise for now until I figure out something better, since I think this will be the most important. So let's go right in, shall we? All right. So VueUse. What exactly is VueUse? Well, essentially, think of it like, you know, Lodash, where you have utility methods that make things really easy for you that otherwise you'd have to do yourself. So for example, if you haven't used Lodash, array, for example, the built-in array type in JavaScript doesn't come with things like group by and all these sort of things that you might want to use to automatically manipulate data. Otherwise you have to write your own like reduce function and that kind of stuff. Well, basically, VueUse is sort of like the Lodash of creating reactive data with very common web APIs that you'd normally want to use. So let's go ahead and jump right in, shall we? Okay, so let's see. It looks like the contrast is okay on the stream. So I'm going to keep it on dark mode. I think that hopefully helps a little bit with the readability. But if not, we can always, let me switch it to light mode. Okay, we'll keep it on light mode for now. I think this actually might be the best. I know there are varying studies regarding the effectiveness of light mode versus dark mode for people's reading. And I think light mode in general, when it comes to reading a lot of text, I think it wins. So, okay, well brain, light mode is better. Okay, now let's talk about VueUse. Okay, so as you can see here, there's basically a ton of stuff here that's going on, but what I thought would be easier to do is just to see, let's go ahead and play around with some common ones that kind of stuck out to me that I thought would be fun for us to track and then kind of go from there. So the first one that I want to take a look at is this sort of useColorMode, right? And so for those who have ever played, you know, when you're building a site, one of the things that's common is you want to persist either like a dark mode or a light mode. And so for most applications, what you're going to have to do is like by default, when the application loads, you're going to have to go and fetch the color theme. Then you're going to go ahead and set that. And there's a lot of like sort of like wiring up you have to do for something that's fairly common. And so here we can see that basically the color mode, basically you import a function here, useColorMode, from the VueUse library. And then just by getting that, you get this reactive data property that can then be tracked. And more importantly, whenever you want to update it for whatever reason, it's as simple as basically setting a variable's value, right? Rather than having to go through and like set everything up. And so I feel like this is very, very interesting. So I figure let's go ahead and build with it, because as you can see here, one of the things too is that it doesn't just let you detect light or dark mode, right? Like on that own, like that's interesting, but what if you could do more? And so what we can see here actually is that you'll notice that we went into like a sepia mode and like a cafe mode. Well, check this out. There are additional modes you can basically determine so that when you have multiple types of themes for your site, if you're building one that's more customizable, it's as easy as basically tracking that within the color mode. And then after that, you can just set that accordingly and then it should work. So to check that this works, let's go ahead and actually build something. So to kick things off, I'm actually going to start this new year. I've like thought a lot about my infrastructure when it comes to building things, creating content. And I will say that I am definitely settled on the idea of actually having the Build with Ben sort of like, let's see, I'll just call it 23 for now, because this is the 23rd session of Build with Ben. So let's go ahead and set that up. And that way, this will be what's attached to the recording. And so that when people want to go through and actually follow along or see what we did, that will let us do that. So with that said, let's go ahead and open this up. Let's go ahead. Actually, let me bump this up a bit. so that people can see what's going on. Okay, much better. All right, so let's get clone, build with Ben 23, excellent. Okay, so let's npm init vite. I think it's just vite actually. Great, we'll use create vite. We're gonna start a brand new project that's just gonna be a Vue project, keep it real simple. And then let's open this up in VS Code. Okay, excellent. So I'll bump this up a little bit so it's easier to read. Grab all this stuff, throw it in the root directory, replace. Excellent. All right, here we go. So if all things works out well, we'll just call this build with Ben 23. And then I think that's everything we need. Just to make sure everything works as anticipated, we'll just run npm install. And then run dev. Great, we should have this at 3000. Bump this up a lot so that we can easily see it. All right, and with that, I think we're good to go. I think we have our hello world actually. Great, everything's working. So let's go ahead and commit that real quick. So we can leave that running in the background. And then let's just add everything. Oh, actually, you know what? The README, I think, is still using the wrong title. Let's go ahead and change that up right now so that people don't get confused when they see this. With Ben, episode 23. Great. All right. Now I think we're good. Our feature, init vue 3 vite app. All right. So the first thing we want to do then with VueUse is let's go ahead and set that up, shall we? So inside of here, we're going to go to add, getting started. Excellent. npm I VueUse /core. Okay, that was pretty easy. We see we have installed the dependencies here, VueUse core. I'm just going to go ahead and add that right now. Config, add VueUse, or install, maybe that's the better. Install VueUse library. Okay. Great. Now, here's the thing. We want to go ahead and detect what basically the user prefers, right? And then typically, so just so people know, so we can kind of follow along a little bit. So if we go over here to the animations, let's go to the browser, and then which one I'm looking for, use color mode, right? Which color mode is basically being brought in. So if we take a look at the use preferred NBN, or, oh, actually, let's see, preferred color CSS, right? There's this whole preferred color scheme in CSS that you can detect. It basically sets like the user now, like there's a whole, it's kind of interesting seeing the web starting to bleed into like the operating system, so that when you set like the operating system to prefer dark mode, it actually starts to bleed between the two. That to me is pretty neat. But anyways, that to say, the question here is, how do we go ahead and do that, right? Typically, you'd have to write the API to like detect it, then you'd have to set it somewhere, you have to track it. But with VueUse, this should become a lot easier. So let's start with the basics. So let's go ahead and import a useColorMode from VueUse /core. And all I'm gonna do, honestly, is say the color mode is equal to useColorMode. That's all. And then all we're going to do here is we're going to have an H1 that prints out the color mode. That's all we're going to do. All right. So as we can see here, what's really interesting is that it has already detected that I, as a user, actually prefer dark mode. And the reason this is really nice is because this means now that without doing any additional work, you have this reactive data property that not only is reactive, so in the sense like, well, if a user wants to change it or toggle it, they can do that. But if I'm not mistaken, if I read the docs correctly, let me go ahead and go to application, and let's go to local storage, a local storage host. Check this out. It's actually been automatically persisted into the local storage. So that means you don't have to also do this part where like, well, what if someone switches something up, right? So in the future, if we're like, okay, let's have a button here that says, you know, switch to light mode, all right? That's a very long name, but it's fine. Switch to light, for example, and then let me just copy that. Const switch to light mode is the function we're gonna call. And all we're gonna do is just say color mode dot value equals light, right? So now when I save it, check that out. not only does it then track the reactive property, as we can see right all the way down here. Oh, okay, good. My face isn't covering up. I just realized the lower right is something that I have to be very careful of going forward, because right now my face is directly in front of it. But luckily, nothing is being covered up. So this is really cool, honestly, because I don't know how much y'all work with like offline persistence and that kind of stuff, but this means now that when I refresh the page, it doesn't automatically reset to dark, because frankly, like, I have already gone ahead and manually told the application that, hey, this is the thing I want to do, and VueUse just takes care of it. And it's this kind of stuff that honestly, Anthony is such a get. Like, if you aren't following him already, again, I just need to give him a special shout out, because he's just absolutely wonderful, and just the amount of contributions he has to the industry, absolutely phenomenal. So basically, yeah. So if you aren't following him already, check him out. And then if you have if your company or you can support him, he does so much stuff with open source stuff, and keeps like creating libraries. Like, again, just as like another shout out to stuff. This is a whole thing he created called icons, or I don't know what the symbol on the top means, but I'm gonna call it icons. And this is literally an open source library of all of the various icons you could basically ever want. So like, again, if we want to get, let me switch to dark real quick. So look, there's a dark light mode. I can go and search for different icons. So if we want to do like, I don't know, like a check mark, for example, look, here are all the icons that have checks. And if you find one that you like, you can actually open it up, and you can even look at the snippet. You can copy the SVG. It has pre-built components for React, for Vue, for all this stuff. It's just like, this is all free. It just works, which is just absolutely amazing. So, okay, so that's it. That's like my little shout out to Anthony. Again, mad props to Anthony for all of his amazing work. But so to answer Jacob's question, then, it's using local storage, correct? It's not using IndexedDB. IndexedDB, this is a separate thing that I made for like a prototype. And so it's just persisting this sort of configuration with local storage. And it's this kind of, I'll call it like developer experience, that I think is one of the reasons that Anthony is just an absolute treasure when it comes to the stuff that he does, is because it would have been one thing to like create a reactive data property that automatically sets the color preference, that actually like configures it correctly according to the web API, right? That already is a useful abstraction of himself. But then, you know, the fact that he goes on to say, okay, we can go one step further. We can actually say, let's go ahead and then persist this into local storage. This is pretty amazing. And so more importantly, check this out. When writing to the ref, it will trigger dawn updates and persist the color mode to local storage. Okay, that is pretty cool. So I'm actually kind of curious now where that is happening. Oh my gosh. I didn't even realize this. I don't think y'all see this. It automatically appends a light class to the HTML, like right then and there. Huh. And so, oh, this is actually kind of the funny thing. If I'm not mistaken, I don't believe VueUse is required to actually be in a Vue application. I don't. Oh, well, I guess it does. Well, yeah, to be honest, it can be weird to ship Vue with a React app anyhow. But I mean, the concepts are good there. So if someone wants to build a React to use library, or maybe it doesn't already exist, I don't know. But it's this kind of stuff that makes me super excited, because now, for example, let's go ahead and just add some simple styles, right? So if we have light, we'll just say background. Actually, let's keep that the same. So let's go ahead and switch that to dark. Background color, let's make that an off black color with the white, like this. Okay, so if this works the way I want it to, let's go and just make this switch theme. Let's make that real simple. And once again, let's update this to switch theme. And then we'll basically say that if color mode dot value is equal to dark, then switch to light, otherwise go to dark. All right, there we go. Okay, so if this works the way I hope it does, Oh, that was so easy. That's honestly, I love that. That took like no, and then again, when I refresh, right, or when I close, reopen, it just stays put. And I don't know how many of y'all have worked with like sort of state persistence across sessions, especially if you're working on like an app that users customize, that kind of stuff. I've been doing some stuff with that. Woo, that is just extra work that you have to do or remember to do, because an app I'm building right now, you configure everything, and then when you refresh, everything just disappears. So the fact that this is built in is, oh, chef's kiss. Absolute. That is great. So you know what? Okay, so what we're gonna do now is, again, this is an application that I want to actually be able to basically, what am I trying to say? I want to be able to make sure this actually works the way we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and a couple of things. One, let's go ahead and switch this back to light so that's easier to read. And then let's just do a couple of things. Let's just do a header real quick. And then we'll call it, let me do an H1 here that's called Build with Ben, number 23. That should go at the top. That's fine. And then here we'll have a button click. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, we'll make the button click here. And then we'll go ahead and let's just do some quick stylings. Display flex, justify content, space between, save. Okay, that looks not terrible. Height 50 pixels, then align center, align item center. And then I think I have a giant margin on top. I think that's why this is happening. So we can delete that. That's great. And then just real quick, font size. Let's just do a 1.2 rem just to keep it small. Okay, great. And so what we can do then is let's go ahead and actually switch this toggle out, right? So honestly, I'm just going to use the thing that Anthony, since this is an Anthony show basically with VueUse, let's grab an icon real quick for the sun. So let's see let's grab, this one's nice. Okay, I'm going to copy the view component for it. And then let's just see how this works. Let's see. So we got to go ahead. I'm gonna call it sun icon, or I go to icon sun dot view. Copy that. Look at that. Ah, you have the template here with the SVG. There we go. Icon sun. So all I need to do now is if I go ahead and import icon sun, then the button should allow me to swap in icon sun. So if I save this and take a look at my app, hey, check it out. There's our sun. The only thing is the sun is it doesn't really, hold on, let me make sure this works real quick before again, we can always refactor the CSS shortly, but align center. Okay, that looks better. But the sun is kind of dim, to be honest. So let's do something really bold. Yeah, I think we need something like this one. Yes, I'm gonna do this ion one. All right, so we're gonna do that. So again, once again, all I need to do is copy the view component, swap that in, save. There you go, that's it. Now we have our icon. Okay, let's see. I see some, let's see, well-brained. However, needed to use storage since the theme comes from the DB. Oh, interesting. Yeah, first out. Wait, Jacob, what do you mean by FOUC? I thought that was like a first in last out thing for a second, but then I don't know what FOUC is. So, okay, anyhow, hopefully whenever you get that, now we need to make sure this toggles, right? So we need a moon icon in retrospect. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab a moon icon from here. Let's see. This one should be pretty good, I think. Actually, no, I kind of like this one. Okay, let's copy this one, although I have a feeling I know what's going to be wrong with it when we do it, but it's totally fine. So we have that. We have that. Okay, now I can hide the sidebar. Flash of unstyled content. Yes, perfect. Oh, yes. That's very true. Let's see. I don't think that exists on this one. So if I switch to dark, refresh. Luckily, the flash of unstyled content doesn't seem to be occurring, at least for theme-wise, so that's good. That's taken care of. But okay, so basically, we can keep this real simple, where we can basically say if, what was it, color mode is equal to dark, and then we can copy this and do an icon mode, moon, if it is light, and there's a reason I'm doing this, else if these two. Then we have that, and then I need to import this to be icon moon, save. Okay, so now we are light mode. Wait, do I have that flipped? It's light mode when it's the sun. I have that flipped. So this should be, it should be the sun when it's light. It should be dark when it's this. So now if we flip it, hey, check it out. There we go. We have our light and dark icons, which is great. So that's all it took. We, just like that, we've implemented a light dark component that not only then switches out the icon accordingly, but then it also goes ahead and makes sure that it's persisted locally, right? So let's just go ahead and commit this part. So feature, add ability to toggle light dark theme with button. Okay. But this API goes one step further, right? What does it do? It allows us to actually define additional themes because, again, dark, light, there's also other things like contrast and that kind of stuff. So this is cool. What if we wanted to follow his in the footsteps and say, oh, cafe mode. Okay, let's see what cafe mode looks like. Ooh, okay. Cafe mode kind of got this like sepia kind of mode, which I kind of like. That's pretty cool. So let's just try that. Let's just see how this works. So what I probably need to do is take a look at the styles for the HTML for the body. And we can see that all it does is actually, it does a couple of things as far as like just adding a filter. So let's just see if that works. So we're going to add another theme called cafe that will go ahead and run a filter across the site. And then we'll save that. So what we need to do now is we need to configure the fact that the color mode has different options, right? That it's more than just basically, actually, I'm kind of curious now because right now it has dim and then cafe. But if right now I went ahead and switched it out. So let's see. So if it's not light, if it's not dark, then we'll just say the other one, the VueUse, is just going to be cafe. And so now when we click it though, what it's going to have to do is, yeah, okay, I'm going to need to grab a quick button real quick. That's something separate. Switch to cafe. Because right now I'm just doing a basic ternary statement and I don't want to make that more complicated. Switch to cafe. We'll just make a quick one on this one. Nothing too complicated. Switch to cafe. And this will be color mode of value is cafe. Great. Okay, so now when we save, okay, great. That is working as expected. So that did swap, but you'll notice though, interestingly enough, that the color did not change. Why is that? Okay, the class does not exist. Huh. Okay, so the reason why I'm guessing is Anthony had made it to a point where you want to be very specific about what modes are available to the color mode. And so the fact that you can then sort of define where it's happening, but we can then say we have a cafe mode called cafe. So then that will correlate to that. And now this means that if I go back to my view, oh, there it is. It just works. So then we can switch. Yeah, that's, that was nice. Okay, so I need to actually then so this looks a little ugly for my liking. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. Switch theme will basically, we'll just do a very simple thing. If color mode dot value is dark, then dark will go to cafe, and then else if color mode dot value equals cafe, then it'll go to light, and then finally the color mode can go to dark. Just keep it real simple, toggle through, and then that way we can swap this out, we can save. It should toggle between them now. Great. And the last thing I'm going to do, because we want to make this consistent, is let's make this a cafe icon. This icon's kind of cute. Let's grab that one. So let me grab that view component. And then I'll do icon cafe.view, paste, save. And just like that, we can just go ahead and copy this line over. And then we can do icon cafe, save. And with that, if I refresh, right, I'm not using it. Then icon cafe is the VueUse, and we can eliminate the rest and save. And then huzzah, check it. Woo, that was fun. See, it's this kind of stuff that makes development, honestly, like to me, I acknowledge the value of providing primitives, right? Like, and letting people murk around and do like, just like, almost like, like, you want to build a car, you want to put the wheel together yourself, you want to put the engine together yourself. That's all good. But for people who might just want to drive, for example, like maybe they want the engine already put together. Maybe they just want to like change the chassis. Maybe they just want to change like, I don't know, other things. So, ooh, this is so easy. And again, the fact that it makes it so easy to add other themes too, because if you're managing this yourself, because I've done this before, then it becomes harder to branch out, right? If you want to like start adding more custom things, because what if the user wants, like, again, we have sepia mode, we have contrast mode, like they're like, I don't know. This is like a slight side tangent, but one of the things that's really big for me is about, as a developer, making it easy for design to experiment and iterate on things. I know that a lot of times the designer-developer relationship can be a little bit tenuous because either designers feel like they're asking for the world, and then developers feel like they just can't do it, or it might be too hard, so they always push back. And you always end up with this sort of like subset of what's realistic, or you get designers who kind of I'll say discouraged from wanting to ask because they're just really tired of being put down. And honestly, I got a whole rant in terms of like design developer but suffice to say, like, think about it. If now switching themes is a matter of just like adding another theme here and then adding a CSS style sheet, which honestly, we know that there are like a lot of designers who are more than happy to do like CSS and make everything look good. And so, or even that, like, I don't know, for people like me who like CSS, that's great. But it's just as simple as adding another mode. That's it. So anyways, that said, let's commit this. So git commit feature, what feature? Add ability to toggle a third theme. Wow, I can't type. Third theme called cafe. Okay, great. So Wellbrain here in the chat says, does it also change theme if you change the value manually in local storage? That is a great question. Let's try it. So I'm going to go ahead and inspect element here. I know my face is covering things. Let me go ahead and raise this up a bit. That's going to take some getting used to, I'm going to tell you. Application. Okay, great. Okay, so what if we change this to dark? It works. It works. See, that's reactivity at its best. I mean, oh my gosh, look at. I'm so happy. Anthony, again, bravo. Or like, I know that you obviously it's open source. You probably have contributors helping with you, but like, this is just, whoo, that is so nice. I'll be honest, I did not expect that. I half expected like the fact that like the reactivity engine wouldn't. Anyways, wow, chef kiss, so good. Well, Brain, thanks for the question there. That is impressive. Okay, so this is what's funny. We're at the 30-minute mark and we have like a little less than 30 minutes left. Normally I try to do 90 minutes, but today I'm limited to 60. But that said, this is just one function that VueUse provides for you, right? Like, we've just been playing around with VueUse. Wait, what did I do? Did I break something? Oh, I know what I did. I turned on cafe mode. There you go. Okay, now we're good. Okay. So there is so much more in this. So here, use clipboard. Like, the clipboard API is just like abstracted into simple functions that you don't need to like. Oh yeah, Wellbrain here. Might need to check and make integration with Tailwind easier plugin for themes. Ooh, I like it. Wellbrain, keep me posted on that. Okay, so we have that kind of stuff. Use event listener. Use eyedropper. Ooh, that's nice. I know that there's like the ability to, does this abstract it for you? It's just, oh, that's super nice. Okay, let's keep going. There's actually another one I'd like to spend some time working on, because this is one that I was like, oh, actually, here's one that's really cool. This is on click outside. So basically it lets you like, it automatically does all the event bubbling and stuff for you, so that when you click on something, it'll do the correct thing. So like, you don't have to like code like the tracking of the element. And when you're tracking outside and elements, like it literally focuses like, this is great. I'm excited about this a lot too. Keystroke. This is another one that's really cool. So you can see here, I'm using my arrow keys, WASD. Actually, it said arrow keys too. Oh, arrow keys work too. And then the ball is moving, right? And so you'll see here that it's actually this whole on keystroke thing. And the reason this is really interesting is because it not only lets you do the one key, which honestly, you're probably like, why is that impressive, right? Because to be honest, the API for on key up and that kind of stuff is not terribly difficult. But look, you can also do like, like you can do an array of like different multiple keys to do the same thing, right? And this API is fairly intuitive to me. It's like, hey, on keystroke, listen to any one of these keystrokes inside of the array, and then on the event, do this thing, right? And then on top of that, we have the ability to then, I think you can listen to multiple keys. Oh, wait, this is multiple keys. I think I was going to say something about trying to combine keys. I'll have to look into that, because that's something of interest to me at some point. Ooh, okay, Wellbrain here. Got a shout out here. Let's take a look. Here's a Tailwind theme swapper. Okay, very nice. Okay, basically allows you to very easily swap stuff in and out. That's nice. Yeah, VueUse could be really great with an integration like that. Thanks for the shout out, Wellbrain. Okay, so in the time we have left, the other one I really wanted to know, like, look at this. Use battery. You just get all this, without... Again, I understand, like, there is value in learning primitives. I can't stress that enough. But from the perspective of, like, sometimes you just need the thing to work. You don't need all the screws and all the little things that make it up. You just want to see what things are working. This is amazing. Okay, so I'm okay. This is the one I want to play with. This is useDraggable, and you can see here it lets you very easily drag things around the page. And so the reason this is interesting to me is because I'm like looking into like sort of more charting libraries and this sort of stuff. And at some point, like, while it's great to have those abstractions, like some of the stuff I want to do might be more nuanced from like a reactivity part. So it'd be cool to make it easy to actually be able to say that, hey, this thing is draggable. How does this all work? And this to me is about like a whiteboarding app is what I'm thinking. And so let's say, for instance, we have a series. Okay, so here's the idea. So let's code. So the idea here is actually fairly straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and delete, to be honest, I'm going to delete the hello world, delete this, that mode, delete that. Okay, so now we have this. To be honest, let me just go ahead and add a quick border on this 1px solid. Oh wait, border bottom, save. There you go, there it is, great. And then I need a little bit more padding on the bottom to 10px. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Okay, so we have this header here. That's great. Now we have this main body here, and I'm going to call this whiteboard canvas. Okay, so what we want to be able to do is we have like a list of items that we want to track across various axes, right? These abstractions are so great. Any idea if they might be compatible with Petite Vue? Ooh, that's a great question. I want to say yes, because Petite Vue, I believe, is built on Vue 3 abstraction. So the only thing is, though, I wonder how much of it, like from a tree shaking perspective, how much it impacts that various aspect. But that is an interesting question, though, regarding Petite Vue with it. I know that it's compatible with Vue 2, so I mean, that might be a question for Anthony, though, because the thing about Petite Vue, for those who don't know, Petite Vue is a subset of the Vue library. Like, it's meant to be dropped in basically as like a CDN for very light interaction stuff. So knowing Anthony, though, the fact that a lot of this is tree shakeable, some of the reactivity stuff might break, but again, might be worth a shot at some point. So, but see, well played. The only reason why I'm kind of thinking it could work is because if Anthony is primarily using the reactivity engine and like, because Petite Vue comes with like certain things stripped out of it, right? Like, I think like animations and like certain things that like you might consider like to be like, basically it comes with a subset of features. I feel like the reactivity engine is shipped in its entirety. I'd be really surprised if only part of the reactivity engine was shipped. But anyhow, I can neither confirm nor deny it. Just, these are mainly theories at my point. Okay, so whiteboard canvas. Let's say we have so there are like quadrants, right, of things. So let's say we wanted to group a list of items according to like, what's a good example? Of like things that you want to do, right? So a simple example of this would be, so let's see. So I'll say div whiteboard, whiteboard canvas. Okay, so the canvas on this, right, we have 4 quadrants. And so let's say for every quadrant, let's just add an H3. So what do we want to sort things by? So let's say importance, right? So it can be important. Then we have another div h3 for not important. And then we have another h3, let's see, div. And then we have another h3 for something can be important, but that doesn't mean that it is. What are the two priorities? Oh gosh, I've been doing priorities recently either. Just because something is important doesn't mean it has the same. Oh my gosh. Oh my god, okay, hold on. Eisenhower decision matrix. Eisenhower decision matrix. Why am I completely blanking on this? Urgent, not urgent. Oh, urgency. That's the other one. Yeah, okay. Okay, so it can be urgent, div, not urgent. So I see Wellbrain here in the chat. So you're right. So this is actually this is an interesting matrix to determine how high a priority is to kind of like rank them across based on it. So what I want to do here real quick then is, okay, so we have the whiteboard. So I'm going to go ahead and just display grid real quick. Grid template columns. We'll just do 1FR, 1FR. And then grid template row, 1FR, 1FR. I think that's good. There we go. We have our 4 quadrants. And then when you're ranking something, it goes from important left to right. So I think I messed this up a little bit. So not important should be first. There, over to that. Then urgent, it goes up into not urgent. So I flipped that too. Okay, so if I can do this the way I hope to, then what we can do then is I'm going to go ahead and give every one of these a class of whiteboard section. Dun, dun, dun. I have a double quote. There we go. Whiteboard section here. And we're just going to give it a border 1px of solid this. Okay, great. Everything's coming through. The only difference is we're going to need to actually... Oh, I need a position relative for this. And you'll see why shortly. So we have position relative. Actually, you know what, though? This might even work without... Actually, you know what? No. I have an idea. Let me stop that. Okay, so then the other thing is I'm going to go ahead and make sure the min height on this is 200 pixels. Great. All right, that's good enough. That's good enough to play with. Okay. That said, we have this. Okay, so now if I save, what if I wanted to redesign this, right? Like I wanted to put the important in the let's see, on the quadrant. Yeah, what if I just wanted to drag this around? So how would we do this? Well, using useDraggable, according to this, let's see. So now we're going to import, we have core. Okay, so now I'm going to import another function, useDraggable. Okay, great. Then we're going to want to actually grab the individual elements and then the style will be computed and then that's what's being added. Okay. So you can also use something called useDraggable with an initial value of this with the vslot xy. Okay, got it. So, okay, I'm going to try something then just because we're going to see if this works. I'm going to go ahead and wrap my not important in a useDraggable component. And then I'm just going to follow the initial value here and just say that it's going to start at 10 and y10, just like it says in the docs. The only reason why I'm a little suspicious of this is I'm wondering where this component is coming from, but that's okay. We're going to find out and then refresh. Nothing happened. I think that makes sense though, because there's nothing telling me that I can actually import the component. So yeah, that seems a little sus to me. Let's see, import useDraggable. Maybe, nope, that's not it. Huh, where is this component? Okay, so that's fine. That's feedback I can give to the team later because I'm wondering, because they have these built-in components, which I'm sure work and are great. Cassidy, how's it going? Okay. So instead, though, we have to track 4 different elements, right? So I'm going to go ahead and let's see. These are methods. This is state. Okay, so const. Let's just do a not important title. And this will be a ref of null. Oh, if we're going to use ref, that means I need to. So for those who are so basically we need to make them reactive references. So not important title, important title ref no. Oh nope. That's funny that that's what auto completed. Great. And then we can do switch this out. This can then be just urgent. And then we can switch that out to urgent like that. Save. So then the only thing now is to make those refs accordingly. So actually, you know what I'm going to do real quick? 1, 2, 3. We're going to go ahead and make them the element of this. That way it prefixes, sort of like, for those who didn't come from the jQuery days, it's kind of like an easy, like there used to be a way you could be like this $ button, and then it would be like document.query select button, right? Basically, you would use jQuery to get it. The $ is starting to go kind of a little bit away, so I generally prefix my elements with L, just to be very specific that I'm looking for an HTML element with it. So, well, Cassie, thank you for saying hello. Oh, Waffle, use draggable component. I'll have to look into that later. I'm running a little bit low on time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do this first. Okay, so, oh, sirens. Sorry, hang on. How do I mute? That wasn't it. Okay, in the future I'll remember. Clearly a little rusty on the mute part. Okay, so useDraggable has to be used in order to compute these things, right? X, Y, style. And then after that, you get the ability to grab that. So in the demo, though, there are multiple elements. So how did he do that? Initial value, inner width, X, Y style, sure. Ref element. Use a draggable component. Oh, wait a second. Use as draggable from component. Well, they're coming for you. Yeah, apparently. Although, for those who didn't know, there was a pretty bad snowstorm here in the DC area. And apparently, people on the highway got stuck, like going home last night. And so people were apparently stuck in their cars like all evening, like 12 hours, which was just like, gosh, it was just like really, really sad. So anyway, so it's part of the reason I think a lot of that's going on. So, okay, inner width. Yeah, this is just the one element though. On this demo that we see here, we can see there are two different ones being persisted. So I'm a little bit, oh, there you go. Use draggable L. Okay. That makes a lot more sense now. Okay, so what we can do here is we can grab the L for this here, for example. Okay, you know what? Let's just do one at a time. So if I save this, and that's good, and then style. Oh, interesting. It's binding the style directly. Okay, I can get on board with this. So let's not do that. Let's just grab this H3 directly, and then we can say the ref is not in, or L not, actually did I copy it? Not important title, great. Style is the style that we've generating, and then the style is position fixed. Save. Okay, fingers crossed this works the way I think it does. Oh, snap. So that means now, because all this stuff works, initial value XY, that means I don't even need the XY, to be honest. I can literally just bring out style like this. This should still work. Persisting it will be a whole, I think, another thing. But, oh, wait. Oh, it doesn't have to be, actually. Because, wait. If we get the XY like this, doesn't this mean that we could log x.value y value? And so this means that inside of my console, wait, I wanted to undraggable, and I'm at x and y. Yeah, okay, but then how do I expose that back to the component? That's kind of what I'm curious of. Let me remove that. Save this. Like kind of what I'm custom ref implementation 4040. So it's basically when we refresh, we can see that that's being rendered, but it's clear. It's kind of interesting because now when useDraggable is being updated, we can probably see that inside of this element, we can see that the left and top is actually being calculated correctly. So this is nice because now we basically can wrap the draggable on very specific things. So basically, for instance, if we now go ahead and update this to be here, and then let's just move it over here. Let's move it down 60. And then let's go ahead and just keep this up real quick. So then drop this, drop this. Then we can move this to 80, move this to 100. Now, if we go ahead and work these refs in, we've made 4 elements draggable. And again, there's probably ways to do this programmatically, but again, I'm just looking to make this work right now. So we're going to copy this onto the individual titles. So like that, like that, like that. Then here we can say this is urgent. This is not urgent. And then we can say L important. There we go, save. Now this is gonna break super hard. That makes sense actually because we have a bunch of things being declared, right? We're all exporting the same thing over and over and over and over again. So I don't think we need X and Y here at all. So that can be deleted. And then for sake of argument, we're just gonna do it style two. Oh wait, style as style 2. How do you why do I always forget how to do this? Destructure object rename. Oh, colon. So this will be style 2. Wait, I think I messed that up. A first name. Oh no, I am right. Okay. Style 2, style 3, style 4. Then we can come in here, 4, 3, 2, save. And then, hey, there it is. Okay, so we can say it's either not important to important, and then we can go urgent to not urgent, like that. Now again, the thing that I'm missing here is first of all, we would naturally position this, but I was thinking like, you can imagine if I wanted the ability so that if you bring a card into a certain region, that you would then be able to actually automatically update the basically, I mean, this is basic whiteboarding, right, of like being able to drag things, but then dynamically updating the properties so that so this in particular to me is interesting because brainstorming purposes. So, for those who saw Baratsky earlier with the question on Obsidian, I do a lot with productivity tools, notes, and that kind of thing. And my always biggest complaint with things that are pure text is that you're forced to think in a linear fashion. In other words, you're either forced to kind of think top down. If you're lucky and you have columns, then I guess you can go over and down, but you're kind of limited to like this kind of fixed geometric way of like thinking. Whereas like a lot of times you're kind of looking for degrees of impact. So you could even think with this kind of thing that like, as I'm dragging it across, there's nothing stopping me from doing some sort of calculation to say that like, if I have a card, right, that like starts on this side and I drag it to the right, not only does it update it as it should be flipped. It should be urgent to not only will it go ahead and update the fact that it's urgent, but we could actually probably like calculate a general score of how urgent we feel it is. Because I think that's a lot of times when we're thinking about ideas and brainstorming is that there's a little bit of that like gut feeling element, I think, when it comes to judging things, because it's easy to say like, oh, this is an 8, this is a 7, this is a 6. It's another when you have the contextual, aspects of like all the various things you're doing, right? Like, can you imagine if you had like all the tasks that you had for the week, that you could just start moving things around to be like, this is important, and then this, and then, but you can be like, well, actually, this is only a little bit less important. And like, the thing is that if you can go by that feel, you get a kind of nuance and granularity of analysis that wouldn't be as easy, I think, to represent in just sheer numbers. Because when you do just a sheer scale, right, from like 1 to 10, for example, you're assuming every single increment is always the same, that like, a 10, for example, a 10 to a 9 is like 1/10 less important. 10 to 5, that's 50% less important. But again, sometimes when we're still figuring things out in our heads, it's just not that clear cut. So being able to see things and do things slightly so that you're only 8% less important or 10% or like 12% more urgent, that actually works. So anyhow, that is all the time we have for today. So let's go ahead and switch on over back to the camera. Okay, so we've had a lot of fun today for our first session. We played around with the new VueUse library, and to be honest, you're going to be seeing more of VueUse going forward, I think, in some of the projects that we'll be using, because again, it's fun to learn the primitives of things. Like, for example, I've learned how to do local storage by hand. Most people don't need to do that, right? They just want to use local storage and then persist it. And then when it updates, go ahead and update everything else, right? And so it's that kind of abstraction that makes me really excited for this. So VueUse is totally going to be something that will be a very key library that'll be in the back of my pocket for sure. And I'll be pushing everything up to GitHub so that people have the code examples. With that said, once again, it's been a lot of fun. Glad to be back and streaming with y'all. Thanks to everyone for the chat, for joining and making this a fun session. With that, thanks everyone, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.